The Journey to the West, Revised Edition, Volume 1. Chapter 1. The Divine Root conceives, is source revealed, mind and nature nurtured, the Great Dao is born. The poem says an era of chaos divide, with heaven and earth a mess. No human appeared in its murkiness. When Pan-Gyu broke the nebula apart, the dense and pure define, did a clearing start, enfold all life, supreme humaneness would. Teach all things how to become good, as they should. To know the cyclic time's work as it's your quest. Red tale of woes dispelled on journey to the west. We heard that in order of heaven and earth, a single period consisted of 126,600,000 years. Divided this period into 12 epochs, where 12 stems of Zi, Chao, Ying, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Shu, and Wei, with each epoch having 1,800 years. Consider Honari's cycle. The sequence would be thus. The first sign of dawn appears at the hour of Xing, while at Chou, the clock crow's daybreak occurs at Ying, and the sun rises at Mao, when Chen comes after breakfast, and by Xing everything is planned. And Wu the sun arrives at his Merling, and it declines westward by Wei. And the evening meal comes during the hour of Shen, and the sun sinks completely at Yu, twilights, sets at Yu, the people's rest by an hour of Hai. The sequence may also be understood micromalically, and at the end of the epochs of Chu, heaven and earth were obscured by all things indistinct. With the passing of 5,400 years, the beginning of Hai, epoch of darkness, this moment was named chaos, because there were neither human beings nor two spheres. After another 5,400 years, Hai ended, and as the creative force began to work after its great perseverance, the epoch of Zi grew near again and brought gradual development in Zhao Kanji said. When to the middle of Zi, winter moved, no change by heaven's mind had been approved. The male principle had barely stirred, but the birth of all things was deferred. At this point, the firmament first acquired its foundation. With another 5,400 years came the Zi epoch. Ethereal and light rose up to form the four phenomenons of the sun, the moon, the stars, and heavenly bodies. Hence, it is said that heaven was created at Zi. This epoch came to the end as another 5,400 years, and the sky began to harden as Cloud Chou epoch approached. The classic change said, the great male principle, supreme the female, they made all things obedience to heaven. At this point, earth became solidified in another 5,400 years. After the arrival of Chou epoch, the heavenly turban condensed below and formed 5 elements of water, fire, mountain, stone, and earth. Hence, it is said that earth was created at Chou, while the passing of another 5,400 years and Chou epoch came to its end as all things began to grow at the beginning of Ying epoch. The book calendar said that heavenly aura descended, earthly aura arose up, heaven and earth copulated, and all things were born. At this point, heaven and earth were bright and fair. Yin had intercourse with Yang. In another 5,400 years, during the Ying epoch, humans, beasts, and fowls came into being. Thus the so-called three forces of heaven, earth, and man were established. Hence it is said, man was born at Ying. Following Pan-Gyu's construction of the universe, the rules of the three august ones, ordering the relations by the 5 thresholds, the world was divided into 4 great continents. They were East Puravida continent, in the west Aragodia continent, and south Gambuiva continent, and the north Urakuda continent. This book is solely concerned on the East Puravida continent. Beyond the ocean there was a country named Aloli. Near a great ocean amidst was located the famous flower fruit mountain. This mountain was consisted of chief range and 10 islets, formed in its origins 3 islands. It came into being after the creation of the world. As testamental to its magnificence, the following poem has been recited. Its majesty commands its wide ocean. Its splendor rules its jasper seas. Its majesty commands the wide ocean. When, like silver mountains, tides sweep fish into caves. Its splendor rules the jasper sea, when snow-like billows sends forth serpents from the deep. On the southwest side pile up the plantains. From the eastern sea arise soaring peaks. There were crimson ridges, portentous rocks, precipitation cliffs, and prodigious peaks. Atop the crimson ridges, the phoenixes sing in pairs. Before the precious cliffs, the unicorn silently rests. At the summit is heard a cry of a golden pheasant. In and out stony caves are seen strides of dragons. In the forest are long-lived deer and immortal foxes. On the trees are divide fowls and black cranes. The strange grass and flowers never wilter. Green pines and cypress always keep their spring. The immortal peaches are ever fruit-bearing. Lofty bamboos often detain the clouds. Within a single gorge creeping vines are dense. The grass-colored meadows all around is fresh. It is indeed a pillar of heaven, where hundreds of rivers meet. Earth grants access in tens of thousands kalpas unchanged. On top of that very mountain, an immortal stone, which measured to 36 feet and 5 inches in height, and 24 feet circumference. The height of 36 feet and 5 inches correspond to 365 cyclones degrees, while the circumference of 24 feet correspond with the solar terms calendar. On the stone were also 9 perforations, 8 holes which are correspondent to the palaces in the 9 constellations. The 8 trigrams, though it lacked the shade of trees on all sides, it was set up by epidrams, and on the left to right, since the creation of the world, it had been nourished for a long period by the seeds, heaven and earth by the essence of the sun and moon, until it quickened and inspiration, and it came pregnant to a divine embryo. One day it split open, giving birth to a stone egg about the size of a play ball. Exposed to the wind, it transformed into stone monkey, endowed, fully developed. With open features and limbs. Having learned once to climb and run, the monkey bowed on all 4 quarters, while 2 beams of golden light flashed within his eyes to reach the palace of polyester. The light disturbed the great benevolent stage of heaven. The celestial jade emperor, most venerable Deva, the most attended to the divine ministries, was sitting in the cloud palace at golden arches in the treasure hall of the divine mist. Upon seeing the glimmer of golden beads, he ordered 1,000 mild-eyed and fair-winged ears to open the south heaven gate, and having a lookout, this command at the 2 captains went to the gate, and having a look instantly listened to the clearing, and returned presently report. Your subjects, obeying your command to locate the beams, discovered, and it came from Flower Fruit Mountain, at the border of the small Aloli country which lies to the east of the Puravada continent. On this mountain of immortal stone has given birth to an egg, exposed to the wind, and has transformed to a monkey who, when bowing on 4 quarters, flashed his eyes. Golden beams have reached the palace of polyester. Now he was taking some food and drink, and light about growing dim. With compassion and mercy, the Jade Emperor declared, these creatures from the world below are born of essence and heaven and earth. They need not surprise us. The monkey in the mountain was able to walk, run, and leap about. He fed on grass and shrubs, and drank on all brooks and streams, and gathered mountains of flowers, and searched out fruits from trees. He made his companions the tiger and the lizard, wolf and the leopard. He befriended the civet and the deer, and called the gibbon and baboon his kin. At night he slept with the stony ridges and the morning Saturn, about the caves and peaks. Truly, in the mountain there is no passage of time. The cold recedes, but one knows not the year. One very hot morning he was playing with a group of monkeys. Under shade and pine trees escaped the heat. Look at them, each amusing himself in his own way. Swinging from the branches to branches, searching for flowers and fruits, they played 2 games or 3 with pebbles and pellets. They circled sandy pits, they built rare pagodas, and they chased dragonflies, and they ran down small lizards. Bowing low to the sky, they worshipped Buddhavisas, and they pulled creeping vines and plaited mats with grass. They searched to catch the loaves, and they bit or squeezed to death. They dressed their furry coats and scraped their fingertails. Those leaning leaned, those rubbing rubbed, those pushing pushed, those pressing pressed, those pulling pulled, those tugging tugged. Beneath the pine forest, free to play, they washed themselves in the green water stream. So after the monkey had frolicked for a while, they went to bathe in the mountain stream, and they saw the currents bounce and splash, tumbling melons, as the old saying goes, fowls have their fowl speech, and beasts have their beast language. The monkeys said to each other, "We know not where this water comes from. Since we have nothing to do today, let us follow the stream up to its source and have some fun." With a shriek of joy, they dragged along the males and females, calling out brothers and sisters, scrambling up to the mountain alongside the stream. Reaching for its source, they found the great waterfall, and what they saw was a column of white rainbows rising 1,000 yards and snow caps flying. The sea wind blows, but cannot sever what river moon lights up forever. Its cold breath divides its green glades, its branches wet and verdant shades. Its torrent named a waterfall, it seems like a curtain hanging tall. All the monkeys clapped their hands in acclaim. Marvelous water, marvelous water. So this water is displayed connected to the stream in the base of mountains directly out, even when the great ocean, they said also. If he had the ability to penetrate the curtains, find out what comes from without hurling himself, then we could honor him as a king. They all gave call 3 times. Suddenly the stone monkey leaped out from the crowd and answered the challenge with a loud voice. I'll go in, I'll go in. What a monkey for! Today his fame will spread wide. His fortune and time will provide. He's fated to live in this place, sent by a king to God's palace. Look at him! He closed his eyes and crouched low, and with a one leap, he jumped straight through the waterfall. Opening his eyes at once, raising his head to look around, he saw there was neither water nor waves inside, only a gleaming, shining bridge. He paused to collect himself and looked more carefully again. The bridge was made of a sheet iron. The water beneath surged through a hole in the rock to reach the outside, filling all the space under the arch. With a bent body, he climbed on the bridge and looked about as he walked. Discovered a beautiful place that seemed to be some kind of residence. Then he saw fresh mosses piling up in the indigo, white clouds like jades afloat, luminous sheens of mist and smoke, empty windows and quiet rooms, carved flowers growing smoothly on benches, salutations suspended in milky caves, rare blossoms, volumations over the ground. Pans and stoves near the wall showed traces of fire. Bottles and cups on the table contained leftovers. The stone seats and beds were truly lovable. Stone pots and bowls were made more praiseworthy. There were, furthermore, a stalk or 2 of tall bamboos, and 3 or 2 spring of plum flowers, a few green pines always draped in rain. This whole place was deemed resembled a home. After staring at the place for a long time, he jumped across the middle of the bridge and looked left and right. There in the middle, a stone tablet which describes in large letters, "Blessed land of flower fruit mountain, the cave heaven of water and curtain cave." Beside him with the light, the stone monkey quickly turned around to go back, closing his eyes, crouching again, and leaping out of the water. "A great stroke of luck!" exclaimed with 2 loud guffaws. "A great stroke of luck!" The other monkeys surrounded him and asked, "How is it inside? How deep is the water?" The stone monkey replied, "There isn't any water at all. There's a sheet of an iron bridge, and beyond it is a piece of heaven-sent property." "What do you mean there's property in there?" asked the monkeys. Laughing, the stone monkey said, "This water splashes through a hole and rock and fills space under the bridge. Beside the bridge, there is a stone mansion with trees and flowers inside. This are stone ovens and stone pots and pans, stone beds and benches. A stone tablet in the middle has an inscription, 'Blessed land of the flower fruit mountain, cave heaven and water curtain cave.' This is truly the place for us to settle in. Moreover, it's very spacious inside and can hold thousands of young and old. Let us all go live there, and spare ourselves from being subject to the winds of heaven, for we have in there a retreat from the wind, a shelter from the rain. You fear no frost, no winter, you hear no thunderclap. Mist and smoke are Brayton, warmed by the holy light, the pines of evergreen, rare flowers daily new." When the monkeys heard, they were delighted. "You go in first and lead the way." The stone monkey closed his eyes and crouched low and jumped inside. "All of you," cried, "follow me in, follow me in." The braver monkeys leaped in at once, but more timid ones stuck out their heads and drew back, scratching their heads. They rubbed their jaws and chattered noisily. After milling around for some time, they too bounced inside. Jumping across the bridge, they were all soon snatching dishes and clutching bowls, or fighting for stoves and beds, shoving and pushing things into hinter and hinter, befitting things of their stubbornly prankish nature. The monkeys could not keep still for a moment, as they stopped when they were utterly exhausted. The stone monkey solemnly took a seat above and spoke to them. "Gentlemen, if there lacks trustworthiness and difficult to know when can accomplish. You yourself promised just now whoever could get in there and leave again without hurting himself could be honored as a king. Now that I've come in and gone out and come in, now I have found for all yourself this heavenly grotto, which you may reside and securely enjoy the privilege of raising a family. Why not honor me as your king?" The monkeys heard this and folded their hands on their breasts, obediently procrastinating themselves, each one of them lined up according to rank and age, and bowing reverently as they intone, "Long live our great king." From a moment, the stone monkey ascended to a throne of kingship. He did away with words of stone. His name measured to the handsome Monkey King. There's a testimonial poem says, "Triple spring made it beget of all things, a divine stone quickened by the sun and moon, chained from an egg to ape to reach a great way. Long then name and surname, match elixir made, formless inside he yields no image known. His outward guides coherence of actions shown. Every age and all person will yield to him. All hailed a king, a sage, free to roam." Handsome Monkey King thus led a flock of gibbons and baboons, to whom were appointed to him as officers and ministers. They toured around Flower Fruit Mountain in the morning, and they lived in the water curtain mountain cave at night. Living in accord to sympathy, they did and not mingled with the birds or beasts, but enjoy their independence in perfect happiness. For such they were activities. In the spring they gathered flowers for food and drink. In the summer they went to quest for fruits and sustenance. In the autumn they amassed taros and chestnuts for ward-off time. In the winter they searched for yellow sperms to live out all year. The handsome Monkey King enjoyed this ultimate existence for the 300 years, and then one day, while feasting and resting the monkeys, he suddenly grew sad and shed a few tears. Alarmed, the monkeys frowned and bowed and asked, "What is disturbing this great king?" The Monkey King replied, "Though I am very happy, the moment I am a little concerned about the future, hence I am distressed." The monkeys all laughed and said, "Great King does not know of the contentment. Here we daily have banquet of immortal mountain and blessed land, ancient caves and divine continent. We are not a subject to be unicorn or phoenix. We are not governed by the rules of mankind, such as independent comfort and measurable blessing. Why, then, does he worry about the future? Although we are not subject to the laws of man today, nor do we need to be threatened by the rules of any bird or beast, the old age and physical decay in the future will disclose the sovereign secret of Yama, the king of the underworld. If we die, we shall not have lived in vain. We will not be able to rank further among all the heavenly beings." When the monkeys heard this, and they all covered their faces and wept mournfully, each one of them troubled by his own impertinence. But look, from among the ranks, a bird-backed monkey suddenly leaped forth and cried out loud, "If the crane is so far-sighted, it may be indicate to sprouting his religious inclination." There were among 5 major divisions, all living creatures, 3 species that were not subject to Yama, a king of the underworld. You know what they are?" The monkey said. "They are Buddhists, immortal, they are holy sages, they are 3 alone can be avoided the wheel of transmigration, as well as the process of birth and destruction, and live long and heavenly in earth. The mountains and streams, where do they live?" the Monkey King asked. The monkey replied, "They do not live beyond the world of Jabuda, for they dwell within the ancient caverns of the immortal mountains." When the Monkey King heard this, he was filled with delight, saying, "Tomorrow I shall take my leave and go to the mountain, even if I have to wander the clouds and cross the sea, or journey to the distant edges of heaven. I intend to find these 3 kinds of people. I will learn from them and be young forever and escape the calamity inflicted by King Yama." Lo, this utterance at once led by him to let free and transmigration net, the great sage equal to heaven. All the monkeys clapped their hands in acclamation. "Wonderful, wonderful! Tomorrow we shall scour the mountain and ranges to plenty of fruits, so we can send our great king off with a great banquet." The next day the Monkey Kings duly went to gather more immortal peaches, to pick and gather rare fruits, to dig out the mountain's herb, and chop out yellow sperms, as brought in orderly manner, and every variety of orchids and epidermis, exotic plants and strange flowers. They sent out stone chairs and stone tablets, covering the tables with immortal wines and food. Look at the golden balls and pearly pellets, the red ripeness and yellow plumpness. Golden balls and pearly pellets are cherished, and their colors are truly luscious. The red ripeness and yellow plumpness are plums, their taste of fragrant tartness. Fresh lunkins of sweet plums and thin skins. Fire lunkins of small pits and red sacks. Green fruits and pines are presented. By the branches of locusts of yellow buds are held with their leaves. Pears like rabbits' heads, dates and like chickens' hearts, dispel their thirst and sorrow. Effects of wine, fragrant peaches, and soft almonds are sweet as the elixir of life. Crispy fresh plums and strawberries are sour like cheese and buttermilk. Red plums and black seeds compose ripe watermelons, 4 cloves yellow wine, and a fold big persimmons. When the pomegranates are split wide, the cinnabar grains glisten like specks of ruby. While the chestnuts are cracked open, they're tough and brawn and hard cornelian. The walnut and shiver almonds fare as well with tea. Coconut grapes may be pressed into wine, hazelnut used, crackleberries overfill its dishes, and common sugar canes and tardines and oranges crowd the tables. Sweet yams are baked, yellow sperms are overboiled, and the tabernacle mince with seeds of water lily. The soup of stones pot simmers with a gentle fire. Mankind may boast its delicious dainties, but was the best pleasure of the mountain monkeys. The monkeys honored the Monkey King with a seat in the head of the table. While they sat below according to their age and rank, they drank for a whole day, each monkey taking their turn going forward and presenting the king with wine, flowers, and fruits. Next day the Monkey King arose early and gave instruction, "Little ones, cut me some pine wood and make me a raft. I then find me a bamboo pole for to gather some fruits like I'm about to leave." All were ready to go into a raft by himself, pushing off with all his might, and he drifted out towards the great ocean, taking advantage of the winds, and set sail for the border, the South Jubia continent. Consequence of the journey: heaven-born monkey, strong in magic and might, he left the mountain and rowed a raft to catch a fair wind. He drifted across the sea in mortal's way, determined in heart and mind to achieve great things. In his lot and portion in earthly seas, calm and carefree, he faced the lofty sage. He'll meet, I think, a true discovering friend, disclose, and all the Dharma will be known. It was indeed his fortune, after he boarded the wooden raft, a strong southeast wind, which, by the way, lasted for days, sent him northwestern coast, the border of South Jambuvia continent. As he took the south pole to test the water, finding it shallow one day, he abandoned the raft, jumped ashore on the beach where people were fishing, hunting geese, digging clams, and draining salt. He approached them, making weird faces and strange antics. He scared them into dropping their baskets, nest, and scattered in all directions. One of them could not run and was caught by the Monkey King, and stripped him of his clothes and put them on himself, aping the way humans wore them. With a stagger he walked through the countries and prefectures, intimidating human speech and human manners in the marketplaces. He rested by night and dined in the morning, but he was bent on finding a way to the Buddhas, immortals, and holy stages. On discovering a formula for eternal youth, he saw, however, that people in the world were all seekers and profit on fame. There was not one who showed concern for his appointed end. In this their condition, when will end this quest of fortune and fame, this tyrant of early rising and retiring late? Riding on mules, they long for noble steeds. By now the prime ministers, they hoped to be kings. For food and raiment they suffered stress and strain, never fearing Yama's call to reckoning, seeking wealth and power to give sons and sons. There was not ever one who was willing to turn back. The Monkey King searched diligently for way for immortality, but he had no chance of meeting it. Going through the big cities, visiting all the small towns, he unwittingly spent 8 or 9 years in South Jambia continent, before he came up upon the western ocean, where he thought he could certainly be mortals by living beyond the ocean. So then he built himself a raft like the previous one, and once again drifted across the western ocean until he reached the West Aragana continent. After landing, he searched for a long time. Then all at once he came upon a tall, beautiful mountain with a thick forest at its base. Since he was afraid of neither wolves nor lizards nor tigers and leopards, he went straight to the top to look around. And indeed, magnificent mountain. 1,000 peaks stand like rows of spears, tens and thousands cubits, and screen wide spreads. Sunbeams lightly enclose the azure mist. In the darkening rain, amounts of color turned cool and green. Dry creepers intertwine old trees. Ancient forests and edge secluded paths. Rare flowers and luxuriant grass. Tall bamboos and lofty pines. For thousands of years to grow green and blessed land. Rare flowers and luxurious grass. All the seasons bloom as in the Isle of the Blessed, and the call of birds hidden are near. The sound of streams rushing are clear. Deep inside the deep canyons the orchids interweave. On every ridge and crag sprout liches and mosses, rising and falling. Ranges slow and fine dragon pulse. There in reclusion must be an eminent man reside. As he was looking about, he suddenly heard the sound of a man speak. Deep within the woods, hurriedly he dashed through the forest and cocked his ear to listen. It was someone singing, and the song went thus. I watch chess games, my axe handle rotted. I chop at wood, zen sound. I walked slowly by the cloud's fridge, at the valley's entrance, selling my firewood to buy some wine. I'm happy and laugh without restraint, and the path is frosted in autumn height. My face moon and my pillow pine root. Sleeping till dawn, I find my familiar woods. I climb the plateaus, scale and peaks, to cut dry creepers with my axe. And when I gather enough to make the load, I stroll singing through the marketplace, and trade for 3 pints of rice, with nary slighting bickering. Over a price so modest, plots and schemes I do not know, without vainglory or attaint, my life prolong in simplicity. Those I meet, if not immortal, will be Taoists, sealed quietly to expound the yellow court. When the handsome Monkey King heard this, he was filled with delight, saying, So the immortals are hiding in this place. He leaped at once into the forest. Looking again and carefully found the woodcutter chopping firewood with his axe. The man he saw was very strangely attired. On his head he wore a wide splint hat on seed leaves freshly cast anew bamboos. On his body he wore a cloth garment and gauze woven from the native cotton. Around his waist tied a widening sash of silk spun from old silk worm. On his feet had a pair of straw sandals with laces rolled with withered sedge, and with his hands held a finely steeled axe. A sturdy rope glided around and round his load. Breaking pines or chopping trees, where does a man equal him? The Monkey King drew near and called out, Reverend Immortal! Disciple raises his hands. The woodcutter was so flustered that he dropped his axe and turned to salutation. Blasphemy, blasphemy, he said. I, a foolish fellow with hardly enough clothes or food, how can I bear the title of an immortal? The Monkey King said, If you are not an immortal, then how do you speak his language? The woodcutter said, What did I say that sounded like the language of an immortal? The Monkey King explained, When I came just now, the forest's edge, I heard you singing. Those I meet, if not immortal, would be Taoists, sealed quietly to expound the yellow court. The yellow court contains perfect words in the way of virtue. What can you be but an immortal? Laughing, the woodcutter said, I can tell you this much. The tune of the lyric is named Court Full of Blossoms. It is taught to me by an immortal, a neighbor of mine. He said I had struggled to make a living when my days were filled with worries, so he told me to recite this poem whenever I was troubled. This, he said, would both comfort me and rid me of my difficulties. It happened when I was anxious, and now I sang the song. It didn't occur to me that I would be overheard, the Monkey King said. If you are a neighbor of the immortal, why don't you follow him in the cultivation way? Wouldn't it be nice to learn the formula of eternal youth? The woodcutter replied. My lot had been a hard life. When I was young, I was indebted to my parents' nurture until 8 or 9. As soon as I began to have some understanding of human affairs, my father unfortunately died, and my mother remained a widow. I had no brothers or sisters, so no alternative for me to go along and support and care for my mother. Now that my mother is growing old, and all more dare I not leave her. Moreover, my fields are rather barren and desolate. We haven't enough food or clothing. I can do no more than chop 2 bundles of firewood and take to market and exchange for 2 pennies to buy a few pints of rice I cook for myself, serving it to my mother with tea that I make. That's why I can't practice augustities. The Monkey King said, "According to what you said, you are indeed a gentleman of finality and piety, and you will certainly be awarded in the future. I hope, however, that you will show me the way to the immortal abode, so I may readily call upon him." "It's not far," the woodcutter said. "This mountain is called the Mountain of Mind and Heart, and it is the cave of a slanting moon, and the 3 stars inside the cave is the immortal by the name of Patrick Subodhi, who can already send in numerous disciples. Even now there are 30 or 40 persons who are practicing augustities with him. To follow this narrow path and travel south for about 7 or 8 miles, you will come to his home." Grabbing the woodcutter, the Monkey King said, "Honored brother, go with me. If I receive benefit, I will not forget the favor of your guidance." "What a bone-headed fellow you are," Woodcutter said. "I finished telling you these things. You still don't understand. If I go with you, won't I be neglecting my livelihood? Who will take care of my mother? I must chop firewood. You go by yourself." The Monkey King heard this and took his leave. Emerging from the deep forest, he found the path and went past the slope of the hill. After he stood up straight to take a better look at the splendid place, and what he saw was a mist of smoke, dysmosis, and brilliance, flashing lights from the sun and moon, 1,000 stalks of old cypress, 10,000 stems of tall bamboos, 1,000 stalks of old cypress, draped in rain half fill, the air with tender green, 10,000 stems of tall bamboo, held in smoke, will paint, and glen chartreuse. A strange flower spread a bouquet before the door, jade-like grass eminent from the fragrance beside the bridge. On ridges, porcines grown moist and green lichens. Hanging on the cliff, cling long blue mosses, cries of the immortal crane often heard. Once in a while a phoenix soars overhead. When the cranes cry, their sounds reach through the marsh distant sky. When the phoenix soars up, its plumes with 5 bright-colored embroidered clouds. The black apes, white deer may come or hide. Golden lions and jade elephants may leave or bide. Look with care at this blessed holy place. It is a true semblance of paradise. He noticed the door of the cave was tightly shut, and it was quiet. There was no sign of any human inhabitant. He turned around. Suddenly he perceived at the top of the cliff a stone slab approximately 8 feet wide and over 30 feet tall. On it was written in large letters, "The Mountain of the Mind and Heart, the Cave of Slanting Moon, and the 3 Stars." Immensely pleased, the handsome Monkey King exclaimed, "People here are truly honest. This mountain and this cave really do exist." He stared at the place for a long time, but dared not to knock. Instead, he jumped onto the branch of a pine tree, picked a few pine seeds, and ate them, and began to play. After a moment, he heard the door of the cave open with a squeak. An immortal youth walked out. His bearing was exceedingly graceful, his features highly refined. This is certainly no ordinary young immortal, for he said, his hair bound with 2 cords of silk, a wide robe with 2 sleeves of wind. His body and face seemed almost distinct, for his visage and mind both detached, a long stranger to all worldly things. He in the mountains anxious boy, unattained even with a speck of dust. He feared no havoc by the seasons wrought. Coming here through the door, the boy shouted, "Who's causing disturbance here?" The bound Monkey King leapt up from the tree and went to bowing. "Immortal boy," he said, "I am a seeker of the way of immortality. I dare not cause disturbance." With a chuckle, the mortal youth said, "You are a seeker of the way?" "I am indeed," answered the Monkey King. "My master is at the house," the boy said. "He has left to this couch to give a lecture on the platform." Before even announcing his theme, however, he told me to go out and open the door, saying, "There is someone outside who wants to practice auguries. You may go and receive him. It must be you, I suppose." The Monkey King said, smiling, "It is I, most certainly." "Follow me, then," the boy said, solemnly. The Monkey King set his clothes in order and followed the boy into the depths of the cave. They passed rows and rows of lofty, huge closed, pearly chambers and carved arches. After they walking through a number of quiet chambers, the empty studies, and finally reached the base of the green jade platform, the Patches Suited was seen seated solemnly on the platform with 30 lesser immortals standing low in rows. He was truly an immortal of great ken, purest man, Master Subodhi with wondrous form of the West. He had no end or birth, and by work of the double tree, whole spirit and breath were with mercy filled, empty and spontaneous. It could be changed at will. His Buddha nature would be able to do all things. The same age as heaven, with a majestic frame. He fully tried, enlightened, was the grand priest. As soon as the handsome Monkey King saw him, he prostrated to himself, contoned times with numbers, saying, "Master, master, I, your pupil, pay you sincere homage." The Patri said, "Where do you come from? Let's hear you state your name clearly and country before you kowtow again." The Monkey King said, "Your people came from the water curtain cave and the mountain of flower fruit in the Aloi country of East Pravada continent." "Chase him out of here," the Patri said. "He is nothing but a liar, fabricator of falsehood. How can you possibly be interested in attaining enlightenment?" The Monkey King hastened to kowtow incessantly to say, "Your pupil's word is an honest one, without any deceit." The Patri said, "If you are telling the truth, then how is it you mention East Pravada continent? Separating that place and mine are two great oceans and an entire region of South continent. How do you supposedly got here?" Again, the kowtowing, the monkey said, "Your people drifted across the ocean, trucked along many regions for 10 years of finding this place." The Patrick said, "If you have come a long way here in many stages, I'll let that pass. What is your surname?" The Monkey King replied, "I have no temper. If a man rebukes me, I am not offended. If he hits me, I am not angered. In fact, I simply repay him with a ceremonial greeting. That's all. My whole life without ill temper." "I'm not speaking of your temper," the Patrick said. "I'm asking after your name, after your parents." "I have no parents either," said the Monkey King. The Patrick said, "If you have no parents, you must be born from a tree." "Not a tree," the Monkey King said, "but from a rock. I recall I used to be an immortal stone in Flower Fruit Mountain. I was born on the year of the stone split open." The Patriot heard this and secretly pleased and said, "Well, evidently you have been created by heaven and earth. Get up and show me how you walk." Snapping erect, the Monkey King scurried around a couple of times. The Patriot laughed. "Though your features are not most attractive, you resemble a Pilonia eating monkey. This gives me the idea of taking the surname for you from your appearance. I tend to call you by the name of Hugh. If I dropped an animal radical from this world, then what's left a compound made up by two characters, gu and yue. Gu means age and yue means female, but aged females cannot reproduce, therefore it's better to give you a surname of son. If I drop the animal radical from this word, then all is left is a compound of z and z. Z means boy, Z means baby. That means exactly according with the fundamental doctrine, baby boy, your surname will be son. The Monkey King was delighted when he heard this, filled with delight. Splendid, splendid, he cried, kowtowing. At last I know my surname. May the master be even more gracious, since I have received a surname. Let me give my own personal name, if it may facilitate with your calling and commanding me. The patriot said, within my tradition, 12 characters have been used in the names of peoples according to their divisions. You belong to the 10th generation. Which 12 characters are they? Asked the Monkey King. The patriot replied, they are wide, great, wise, intelligence, true, comforting, nature, see, sharp, wake, complete, and awakening. Your rank falls precisely on the word awake. You will hence be given the religious name Wake to the Void, Wukon. All right? Splendid, splendid, the Monkey King laughed. Henceforth I shall be called Sun Wukon. So it was that, at the nebula parting, he had no name. Smashing stubborn voids needs to wake the void. We do not know what fruit Taoist cultivation he succeeded in attaining afterwards. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter.